Hi guys, welcome to another tutorial on IT.tutorials. I am Josef Botnar. I'm inviting you for another tutorial in regard to this project calculator. This tutorial has the goal to get the numbers of these buttons, to write a code behind these buttons to get the numbers what are located on these buttons. I mean these numbers 7, 8, 9, 4, 5, 6 and so on. In our last video tutorial I have done the design of this project calculator, and let's release this app. I like to release the app quite often because in this way I can see if something there is wrong or not, if the app works properly. As you can see, no errors, so so far so good. Let's press these buttons. As you can see, nothing happened when I press these buttons. Nothing works, nothing is happening. Yeah, why? Because this is only the design. In order this app to make something to work, I have to write code behind these buttons, these controls. So let's close this calculator, and how I can write code behind these controls. Visual C# uses events to write code behind controls. How I can access an event. So what the event is. The event is an action which is triggered by using the mouse or the keyboard. So what I want when I press with the left side of my mouse these buttons, I want the app to get a number from these buttons. So this means I need a click event. I can get the event either I press double click with my mouse on these buttons, or I can go here in properties window, click on this lightning icon, and after will appear all the events here, as you can see, and this is the event what I need. Click, and have you noticed I selected this button? Where is this number? 7. So click, double click in this box next to this event. Click, and this will take you straight inside this method, private void method, with this name and with this event. Click. Okay, now we can start to write code. So what I need the name of this label. Let's get the properties. So click on this icon, and the name of this label is LBL result. Yeah, I go back to the code, and I'm going to write the name of the label LBL result. I need the text property. Yeah, and I'm going to write here between these double quotes this number 7. Why I need this property text? I need this property text because, as you can see, all these numbers, in this case this 7, was set to this property text. The same is for the other buttons. Yeah, as you can see, all these numbers were set to this property text. That's why I need this property text, and because I'm using to write an event for this button 7. That's why I write the 7 between double quotes. So I can do the same thing here, but now I'm going to give a double click on this button. This is another option to get the click event. Yeah, and this one will take me straight inside this method. It's the same code line like the previous one. Just I need to replace the 7 with 8 because on this button I've got the number 8. Yeah. Now let's release again this app. Let's see how my calculator works. So now I press 7, I get here 7. This is good. I press 8, I get 8. So far so good. But let's see what is going to happen if I press the button many times, like 3 or 4 times. So now I pressed this button 7 once. This is twice, third, fourth, fifth. So nothing was appended here. This single 7 stuck here. The same it works for this button A. As you can see, even I press many times the button, just single 8 is stuck here, which is not good. Let me to release the calculator of Windows 10, and let's see how this works. So I press 1, 2, 3 times and I get here 777. 1, 2, 3, I get 888. So I want my calculator to work the same. How I can do this? So here I'm going to write again this LBL result label, because all these controls, their type is string. So even here I got a figure, a number. This number is string. This is the data type for all these buttons, and not just for the buttons, for the labels and for all the controls. The type is a string. Yeah. So therefore I can concatenate the string in this way. I'm going to write again this LBL result label with this property text, and after I'm going to write the plus operator, which will concatenate these 2 strings. Yeah. So I'm going to copy this and paste it here, and let's release again the calculator, and let's see if this works. Yeah, it works. So now I get the number of the buttons as many times as I click the button. So now this works. Let's close this. But I've got a problem with this kind of coding. Now I should go and get even for each of these buttons, and I have to write the code inside of all these events behind of all these buttons. This is a lot of code to write. So let's find a simpler and easier method to code. As Visual C# has a button class, we can use that button class to get a button to be assigned with this sender object, which is a parameter of this object, and in this way that button object will get access to all the properties of the controls, yeah, of all these controls. So let's see how this works. Let me to comment out this code line, and so as I told you, Visual C# has a button class, and I'm going to create this object button. Yeah, equal and this object button will be assigned by this sender object, which is a parameter of this object. Yeah, okay. But as you can see, I get errors because I need to do a cast to this object button using this class button. Here you go. Now the error disappeared. And this way, this button can have access to all the properties of the controls. So let's code further. I need again this LBL result label with this property text. Yeah, and again LBL result dot text. And now I'm going to write this button, this object, yeah, button dot, and now here is the IntelliSense, and you can see in this list this button now has the access to all the properties, which is absolutely amazing. Yeah, so I need this property text. Yeah, why I need this property? As I told you, I need this text property because all the numbers of these buttons were set to this property text. So that's why I need this property text. So let's see if this sort of coding works. Yeah. So I go back and I release again my calculator, and let's press this button 7. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Well done. So now I get 7 as many times I press this button 7. So let's do the same for all these buttons. If I press now 4 or 9, nothing happened. Nothing is happening, as you can see. Yeah, if I press 8, the app will append this 8. Yeah, because I've got the code behind the button, but I don't want to use this kind of code, as I told you, because it's tiring and we have to write a lot of code, which is not a good practice. So now what I have to do, just I have to copy, but first I go back here in my design. I select this button, and because the code, this code is written behind this button, I go in a properties window, I select the event, I go here where I've got this click event, and let's change the name to be more suggestive, like none. Yeah, because I have to get the numbers of those buttons. Yeah, so now click, and Visual Studio created for me another event. So this event, yeah. So let's cut these code lines and paste it in here. Now I can remove this method. I don't need it. Yeah, I got this event is enough for me. Be careful, follow exactly how I have done this code, because you may get errors, because it's not that easy to remove a event from the code. Sometimes you get errors, so follow exactly the steps how I'm coding, and you will not get errors. All right, so let's start again this calculator to see if it works. I didn't get error, so that is very good. So I did the code behind this button 7. Let's see if it works. If it works, it's amazing. Yeah. Now the 8, yeah, because I've got this code here, but not for 9, 4, 5, 6. So no code. It doesn't. These buttons don't work at all, as you can see if I press on them. Yeah, because I don't have any code behind them. Okay, so what I have to do, I have to copy the name of the event and this method, go to the design, and select all the buttons, open the property windows, go to the event here where is the click event, and paste that event. Yeah, okay, and do the same for all these buttons. except the operator buttons. Now the goal of this tutorial is to get the numbers from this button. So I'm talking just these buttons, yeah, and another button C and CE, and these pointer buttons. So in this tutorial, I'm not going to talk about these operators buttons, yeah. Okay, let's paste it, and let's go forward and do the same thing for these buttons. Okay, here you go. I get to the end. Alright, so now let's release again this calculator, and let's see how this works. So, yeah, amazing, absolute amazing, isn't it? Yeah, amazing. All these buttons works now, yeah? So no worries. Okay, and the code is quite a little line of code, not too much code. As you can see here, I've got just 3 code lines, which is quite a little. Using this method to code to get this button, and using this sender object as a parameter of this method. If I would have used the another method to write the code behind all these buttons, I would have written a lot of code here, a lot of code lines, which would have been more tiring and more work to do. In this way, the work was less and more efficient. All right, so let's release again this app, and as you can see here, if I press these 2 buttons, nothing happens. So let's release the Windows 10 calculator again. It seemed I close it. Alright, so if I press C, I get 0, as you can see, but I want to do a change. I want my calculator to be a bit different. So when I'm going to press this button CE, I want my calculator to get 0, and when I press C, I want my calculator to clear this result here, yeah. So let's do the code for these 2 buttons, yeah. Alright, first for C. So let's close this, sorry. Let's go to design and double click, and here I'm going to use again this LB result label, again this property text, and I'm going to write this double quote here, yeah. And for this button, just I copy this code, I paste it in here, and I'm going to write 0. So let's release again my calculator, and let's see, yeah. Now if I press C button, this label is cleared, and if I press CE, I get 0, yeah. So this is very good, but I don't like why I get here 0, and the 0 is not removed, doesn't disappear after I add other numbers, yeah. So this 0 remains here. I don't like this at all. How I can remove it? I can code an if structure here, this method, use this comment, yeah, to know that here I've got an if structure, okay, and here you go, if parentheses LBL result text property equal 0 is 0, please remove that 0. So I can use either this method. Yeah, let's see if it works. Yeah, so 5 6 and now 0 5. Yeah, it works. So here you go. Now 0. Yeah, now as you can see, when I press one of these buttons, this 0 disappear. The 0 doesn't stuck here in front of these numbers. Yeah, so it's good, it works. But I can suggest you another method. LBL result again, text, and I'm going to use this method reset, which does the same thing. Here you go. Let's release this up, this calculator. Yeah, 0. Yeah, it does the same thing. It works. Yeah, as you can see, the 0 doesn't stick here in front of these numbers. Good. Also, I can use this method reset text here for this button, for C button. Yeah, used to clear that label. Yeah, so I can comment out this line of code. So let's use again this LBR result label, and let's use that method reset text, parentheses and semicolon. Yeah, now let's release again my calculator. Yeah, it works. When I press this button C, this clear this label, as you can see, as you have seen. Yeah, I get to the end of this tutorial. My aim was achieved, so I wrote the code behind these buttons. As you can see now, my calculator is able to get the numbers of these buttons. Also, these two buttons works. C buttons clear this is clearing this label, and this button CE get the 0 after I press it. So that's it. That's all for today. In the next video tutorial, I'm going to write the code behind these operators: division, multiplication, addition, subtraction, and this result button. Yeah, or this button which has this equal operator on it. Thank you for watching this video tutorial. I'm waiting you to watch my other tutorials and to watch my next tutorial regard to this app calculator. Thank you. See you next time.